Good evening, children. I'm Miss Becky from Renfrew Museum and Park, and we are so excited that Miss Bailey invited us to share a bedtime story with you. I'm here in one of the bedchambers at the museum house at Renfrew, and I've been working on some mittens. And this reminded me of a story that you might be familiar with already called The Three Little Kittens. And I wanted to share that with you today because it's a very old story that's been passed down for many generations, and it was written into a book in the 19th century. And so today we're going to share the poem version, which you might already know, along with a story that was written in 1859. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to open up with the poem for you, and you can say it along with me if you know it. The three little kittens, they lost their mittens, and they began to cry. Oh, mother dear, we sadly fear our mittens we have lost. What? Lost your mittens? You naughty kittens. Then you shall have no pie. Meow, meow, meow. We shall have no pie. Our mittens we have lost. The three little kittens, they found their mittens, and they began to smile. Oh, mother dear, see here, our mittens we have found. What? Found your mittens? You good little kittens, and you shall have some pie. Meow, 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 we shall have some pie. Let's have some pie. So now I'm going to read you the story from 1859 that takes that part of the poem and turns it into what we call a narrative. So the three little kittens ran to their mother and held up their paws to show that the mittens were really lost. Now the kitten's mother was a large gray cat. She wore a cap on her head and a pair of red mittens on her arms. And when she saw the three little kittens sitting before her with their paws up and looking half frightened, half astonished, she became angry and said, "Meow." Then she sat down before them, looking very fierce, and said, "Meow," again. At this, the three little kittens began to cry and said they were very sorry indeed for losing them. But they could not tell how it happened, for they were quite sure they had them on when they were eating their breakfast of bread and milk, and that they did not take them off when they went to play. "But when did you miss them?" asked the cat. "We don't remember," answered the two eldest kittens. "Oh, I missed mine just after I went to sleep on the rug," replied the youngest. At this, the other two kittens went into fits of laughter, but their mother gave them each such a slap on the head and a scratch on the nose that they sat down again trembling before her. Their mother said this last meow so fiercely, and it followed up with such an awful fuff, that the poor kittens turned round and scampered away as if they were mad, with their hair all standing on end. Now, the eldest kitten was black, the second was white, and the youngest spotted, so they were each called Blackie, Whitey, and Spotty. "What shall we do?" said Blackie to her sisters when they fled under a sofa. "I don't know," said Whitey. "And I don't know," said Spotty. Blackie shook his head and twirled his tail slowly and said, "Dear mother is very angry with us, and no wonder, for we had no business to lose our mittens. I'm very, very sorry about it." "And I'm very sorry too, but I cannot think where we have put them," said Whitey sadly. "Oh dear me," sighed Whitey. "I do wish that dear Mama had never made them for us. Of course it was very, very kind of her to do so, but they have given us so much trouble. I really think we should have been much happier without them." "Hush, hush, dear sister," said Blackie. "You must not speak that way. You might just as well say you wished we had been made without tails, because they give us so much trouble and are so often caught in the doors and trod upon by careless people." Spotty could hardly speak as she looked up with tears in her eyes and said, "Oh dear, I'm so grieved about the pie," and she rubbed her stomach gently with her paw. "What think you?" cried Blackie, starting up. "Shall we look for them?" So they cried, "Yes, yes," and scampered off to search. "I'll find them," "If I should search for a week," said Spotty, with a very determined meow. And they did search, and found them too. Then they ran joyfully to their mother, waving their mittens in the air and uttering shouts of a very peculiar kind, which were no doubt intended for hurrahs, although they did not sound very much like it. "Aren't you glad we found them?" said Blackie. "Of course I am," replied Spotty, whisking her tail. The cat received them with a sweet smile and a long, loud purr. "Well, my dear children," the Mama Cat said, "I am glad you have found your mittens, and I hope you will take care not to lose them again." "Oh, yes, dear mother," cried the 3 kittens. "We will take great care of them in the future." The cat smiled and screwed up her whiskers with joy to find that her little ones were so anxious to please her. And then she said, "Don't you find them nice, useful things, my dears?" Blackie looked at Whitey and said nothing. But Spotty gave a little jump and said, "Well, we didn't think so at first, but I believe they are very nice and useful after all. Now I think of it, for they are constantly being lost and keep us employed looking for them, and they are forever catching on corners and nails and making me tumble, which makes Blackie and Whitey laugh very much, and that's funny, you know, if it's nothing else." So let's go back to our poem. The 3 little kittens put on their mittens and soon ate up the pie. "Oh, mother dear, we greatly fear our mittens we have soiled." "What? Soiled your mittens? You naughty kittens." Then they began to sigh. "Meow, meow, meow, our mittens we have soiled." Then they began to sigh. Now back to our story. It was a sad sight to see these 3 little kittens sitting with their mittens covered over with grease, and the tears rolling down their cheeks. It was a sad sight to see their poor mother quite unable to speak for sorrow at their foolishness. For, after all, they were really good kittens, and all the evil they did was owing to their thoughtlessness. So the cat sighed and said that it was very sad, and the kittens wept more than ever. But Spotty caught sight of Blackie's tail, which was moving at the point, and she could not help making a sudden dart at it. Then she remembered it was naughty to play when she was naughty, so she sat down and cried again, wiping her eyes with the end of her tail and looking very wretched. "Oh, forgive us, dear mother," said Blackie, "and we will try to behave better in the future." "Forgive us, dear mother," said Whitey, "and I will never do anything wicked again." "Forgive us, dear mother," cried Spotty, "and I'll do all I can to remember not to be naughty. I'll never dirty your ball of worsted by chasing it, and I'll never upset the tea kettle, and I'll never scratch Blackie's face, even in fun, and I'll never grow wild with delight or annoy you any more, and I'll never, never, oh dear, boo-hoo, I only wish I was good." And little Spotty put both her paws up to her eyes and rubbed her face with the soiled mittens and cried as if her very heart would break. "Ah, yes, forgive us, do forgive us," this time they all cried out together. "I forgive you, my children, but you have made me very miserable." The Mama Cat shook her head mournfully and sobbed as she went on with her knitting. Now, while she lifted her paw to wipe away a tear and put her spectacles right, she let the ball of worsted fall on the floor, and it slowly rolled away. In an instant, the 3 kittens forgot their sorrow, rushed after the ball, Spotty first, as usual, and knocked over a small table where stood a beautiful china bowl and a glass of flowers, which were smashed to atoms. With a general yell, they fled out of the room in extreme terror. After this, the kittens began to think that they might try to wash their mittens. So, the 3 little kittens, they washed their mittens and hung them out to dry. Oh, mother dear, look here, our mittens we have washed. What? Washed your mittens? You good little kittens. But I smell a rat nearby. Meow, 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 we smell a rat nearby. Let's all have some pie. The end. We hope you enjoyed this story, everybody, and we look forward to seeing you at Renfrew Museum and Park very soon. Good night.